Okay, so what we're looking at here is what is an archetype. And basically, we discussed this a little bit in class so far, and we've been looking at patterns in literature. Well, an archetype is another name for a pattern, and it doesn't have to be a character. One of the most famous archetypes is the hero, because if you look at every hero that you've ever seen, they all exhibit certain personality traits. And so when you see that character repeated over and over and over again, well, you know they're going to win in the end, and you know they're going to have some kind of a power. If it's not an actual superpower, they're going to be intelligent, they're going to be a good fighter, whatever it is. They have a very specific skill set. You also have archetypal plots like good versus evil and that kind of thing. So what you're looking for is a plot or a setting or anything in the story that you have seen before. Okay, so let's talk about like movies. Well, we read Kitty and Mac and we saw the drive-by shooting. Well, if you have a story set in an area in the hood, as my first book likes to call it, then basically what that means is that there's going to be a drive-by shooting. I mean, it's an archetype of that. When you have a story that is set in the hood, there's a drive-by shooting. And so what we're asking you to do with this is look for the pattern. Have you seen this character before? Have you seen this setting before? It maybe that every time someone goes to a certain place, something always happens, and you can almost call it. We talked about scary movies. When you're being chased by the bad guy, what do? You run up the stairs and get killed, especially if you're an attractive female. That's what's going to happen, and we know it before we even turn the thing on. So let's look at some examples, because I think that might actually be helpful. Oops. So here's the hero. We have Robin Hood, Gilgamesh, Hercules, Beowulf, Harry Potter is considered one, Thor, and you can even go with Superman, okay? Now, I wanted to show you Gilgamesh and Beowulf because these two guys are like epic heroes from like epic stories, meaning they're thousands of years old. So the whole concept of a hero, even Hercules is the same way. These guys have been around for way longer than Batman and Robin Hood. And even Robin Hood is old. So throughout history, I'm not talking about in the last 100 years, I'm saying for as long as we have been telling stories, we have been using heroes. And that is why that archetype is in existence. Now, this is not a closed canon. There are a gazillion heroes that we could talk about. And we could argue whether or not some belong or some don't belong into this category. But if you look at this, at least all 7 of these are considered heroes. And so they have certain traits. Like I said before, they're going to be strong. Maybe it's not strong in body. Maybe it's strong-willed. Or they're brave. They fight against battles that you think they probably can't win. They're tough. They also generally have like a flaw of some kind, like a weakness. For example, Superman, kryptonite. Okay, Harry Potter has a temper, which also often gets in his way. So you have to look at these guys and figure out, okay, what exactly is their flaw? But I mean, like usually they're all going to fit this category. Okay, strong, brave. They fight for what they think is right. Even if their strength is just being bullheaded enough to not give up, that's still a strength. So that's the hero. Another one is the sidekick. Now, this does not have to be. Whoops, hold on. Let me do that. This does not have to be a superhero story. For example, showing you who this is Xena Warrior Princess, and this girl right here in the little brown dress is her sidekick. She goes everywhere she goes. She's always there, and she helps her out. We all know who Robin is. Robin is Batman's sidekick. This is Napoleon Dynamite. I don't know if you've ever actually seen the movie or not, but basically this guy kind of becomes his little sidekick. And if you've seen this movie, which is called When in Rome, he still serves as his sidekick even in When in Rome. It's kind of funny. Timon and Pumbaa end up serving as a sidekick for Simba. And this guy, in the story of Van Helsing, he is Hugh Jackman's sidekick. Okay? Normally, but not always, in this case it's not true, in this case it's not true, but normally they're going to be a little bit bumbling and goofy. But either way, you have to have a sidekick. And once again, there is no shortage of these. I could probably go about anywhere that I wanted to and pull them out. So if you ever see a movie and you have your main character, and there's a character that is always with them and always helping them out, or just always with them, following them around doing what they need them to do, that is a sidekick character. And like I said, a lot of times they are going to be comic relief. Like, for example, this one, and this one are all very much comic relief. So that's That's another type of archetype. It's a character. But there's more. All right, here's setting. This is going to require a little bit of talking through. This top one right here is a picture of Mount Everest. On top of Mount Everest, it is known for the people who have tried to summit it but died in the process. And this guy is actually a trail marker. He's called, I forget the actual name, but something about his bright green boots. But he is dead. He's been up there not hundreds, but he's been there for a very long time. And the basic point of this is anytime there is a mountain in a story, a snowy mountain, that is an archetypal setting, and the picture is not far off of what usually happens. Think about the plane crash movies, The Gray. There's other stories where planes have crashed on mountains. People go up a mountain and they die. Not always all of them, but if they're not died, they're tested to their brink. So if you're ever watching a movie and someone is going up a mountain, then you can pretty well guess there's testing coming. Now, if you look at Frozen and say, well, no, that's where Elsa went to be safe. Okay, because this up can be considered a place of solitude, but think about what happened with Anna. Anna was nearly killed when she went up. So usually, when you go up and you have a snowy mountaintop, it's going to be, people are going to die there, or it's just going to be very hard. The next one right here is a house. Because home is home, and usually in any story, someone is just trying to get home, and home is just a place that is safe, that you can go there and be who you are and not worry about people watching you. It's a safe place. It's a safe space. This next one I'm showing you is the road. Think about how many stories take place on the road. You have road trips, people that get stuck and they're just trying to get home, but also people talk about humans embark on the road, which is life in general. So that's a very heavily used archetype. The next one, and you think you recognize this from The Walking Dead, is a church. And it's in one of the seasons, the characters actually use this church as a sanctuary. And this is actually historically true as well as it is in literature. Most of the time in history, a church is considered a place of sanctuary. In the older times, people would actually run and hide in churches. And and when they did that, the police or the army could not get them. There are stories of the evilness of, or things how Napoleon got too far and was a bad guy, because there are stories of him actually burning churches that people would run and hide into and killing them. Because that's a big no-no. When someone goes into a church, they're claiming sanctuary. And so most of the time, when you have a story and people are in a church, they are safe. Now, occasionally, as we discussed in Foster, there are authors who will go through the process of blowing up all these archetypes just because it shocks the audience. But when that happens, that person is considered incredibly evil or heinous for killing someone in a church, because church is sanctuary. You go there and you're safe. And the last one we're going to talk about are the woods. Anytime someone goes in the forest, bad things are going to happen. We already talked about this in geography. And just like in geography, the woods are almost always a bad place. That makes it an archetype, okay? Just like the mountains are an archetype. This is an archetype. Okay, this setting is an archetype. You will see it all the time. People go into the woods, bad things happen. Or the woods are haunted, or there's thieves hiding in the woods. Or if you go to the woods, you're going to have interactions with the devil. The Devil in Tom Walker is a story we'll read in this class. He goes into the woods, runs into the devil. The Crucible is another one of our stories from this class, and the girls are in the woods dancing around a fire because they're witches and they're talking to the devil. If you remember, in the Scarlet Letter, we talked about she goes into the woods to have a conversation with Dimmesdale that she normally shouldn't have, and Mistress Hibbins constantly talks about the women in the forest communing with the devil. So we know that the devil's in the woods, probably because we don't know what's in there. If you go in the woods by yourself at night, there's noises everywhere, you don't know what's going on. There could be a big bear hiding behind anything, snakes. It's just a scary place that no one really feels comfortable going. And especially during older times, when you didn't really understand nature and the world around you, the woods were just plain scary. So the woods are an archetypal setting, and usually, like I said, if someone goes in the woods, you know something bad is going to happen to them. All right? And finally, plots. This doesn't have to be a whole story. It can be a portion of a story. For example, horror movies. Well, I already picked out the cute girl attacked in the kitchen, runs past front door and goes upstairs. All right, the girl always falls down when she's running to be chased by the bad guy. There are so many aspects of a horror movie that are just, they're in every single one. It's almost ridiculous. In fact, the whole franchise of Scary Movie is just picking on all these archetypes that happen. So a horror movie plot is very much an archetype. Okay, Romeo and Juliet, true lovers that want to be together, but they can't. Okay, that always happens. Do they have to always die? No, there can be a variance on the plot. The point is that it happens all the time. The other one is good versus evil. In almost every movie, or not every movie, almost every story, most stories, there's going to be some aspect of here's the good guy, here's the bad guy. We have to have that because we want to see the good versus evil. And then finally, this picture down here is of Rudy. This is underdog stories. We love to root for the underdogs. So think about how many stories, a lot of sports are this way, where you have a character who shouldn't be able to get done what they need to get done, but they find a way to persevere and get what they need in the end. Or a team that's not supposed to be any good that finds a way to win everything. Okay, that is like all over sports movies. And so that's another archetypal plot. Have I selected all of them? No, there are about a gazillion of them out there. But we want you to understand when you're reading anything, look at it and be like, okay, have I seen these ideas before? Is this character familiar to me? Is this setting familiar to me? Oh, they're going to the woods. Is someone going to die? Okay, look at it and try to figure out, when you're reading anything, what am I seeing here? Is this familiar? And if you can do that, you can identify an archetype pretty easy.